Your self-concept dictates what you bring into and keep in your life. I always like to say you are never really manifesting things, okay? You are only ever just manifesting the version of you who has the thing. When you shift into a new identity, belief system, nervous system, ability to be present with the now, etc., the things will naturally come to you. Do you see the difference? That's why self-concept is so important, because it's how you see yourself, how you filter the world, what you believe you deserve, what you believe is possible for you, and most importantly, how your nervous system feels in relation to everything. So it's not just mindset, it's not just thinking thoughts, it's embodiment, it's belief, it's regulation, it's emotional safety. Ever heard this quote that says, "We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are." If deep down you see yourself as someone who is always overlooked, not chosen, naturally you'll start to interpret even neutral situations that confirm that belief, because you're subconsciously being loyal to that identity that you're holding on to. But when your self-concept shifts, even if it's slightly, the world starts meeting you at that new level. So here's the thing. We carry different concepts of self, images of self in different areas of our lives. All right, so let's talk about love, because we all love love, right? Your self-concept is the identity you hold about who you are in a relationship and what kind of love you believe is available to you. I'm someone who's chosen, I'm someone who's not chosen. I'm someone who has to perform for love. I don't need to earn love. I can fill my own cup. I need someone else to fill my cup for me. And this isn't just in your head, it's also in your body. So your nervous system has to feel safe with your self-concept. If your nervous system is used to unpredictability and emotional highs or lows, you might subconsciously associate that with love. So a while ago, I was talking to a girl, and I was talking to her about how relationships are great, but I do have these fears based on my past experiences, etc. And she looked at me like I was crazy. Like, she literally looked at me like I was insane. And she said, "Well, like, what do you mean fears? Like, aren't all relationships good? Because isn't love, like, always good?" And she's not 16, she's 30 years old. Her self-concept is truly that she's someone who finds love easily, relationships are natural, she doesn't need to struggle for them, in them. And yes, she may be a little bit naive, but in reality, that is the type of relationship that she always attracts and she always has. Whereas I always had this very deep-rooted belief that love is hard. It needs to be a struggle. I need to fight for things. I need to prove myself. And that is what I ended up always attracting into my life. This is a hockey stick, by the way. What about when it comes to your career or your job or your livelihood, right? So the one example I'm going to use on self-concept is my dad. My dad is a science guy. He's an engineer by training. He's very logic-minded. To him, if things are not backed by proof, science, data, it's not real. So earlier in his career, he made a very big leap from being a chemical engineer to being an entrepreneur in an industry that had nothing to do with what he was doing previously. And that wasn't like an easy thing for him to do, because his own parents were like farmers. He didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. So I asked him once, what was the single most important thing that you did to make that leap in your career? And he could have said, I worked my ass off, and he does work very hard, but that's not what he said. Instead, he said, I had to think of myself as a new person. I had to stop thinking of myself as a chemical engineer working 24/7 in a research lab. And I had to think of myself as a businessman. And I was like, really? That was the single most important thing that you did? And I was like, Dad, Father, what you just said is self-concept, which is the core of law of attraction. So all that is great, but how do you change your self-concept? For For me, there are 3 ways, and I use different ways in different scenarios. So the first is really obvious, and you hear this a lot. You change the way you see yourself by telling yourself a new story. You identify your old beliefs, and you also identify the new beliefs that your new self-concept and the new identity, the new version of yourself would have. Yes, you can do affirmations, you can say affirmations to yourself, but also remember to breathe. Make sure your nervous system feels safe in those affirmations, in that new story. But with that said, sometimes force-feeding affirmations is not enough. And in that case, you really have to build your self-concept by just taking action, by building evidence. So for example, I did not fully believe that I could be creating content up until the point that I wrote my first script for my first video, filmed it, I uploaded it. I still did not have the belief that I could be a content creator or that I can make content. But I just finally said, fuck it, I'm gonna do this without having any belief. But every time that I show up, I post something new, or I get a message from someone saying that something I said really helped them, I start to build self-credibility. That helps me shift my self-concept. So yes, beliefs are important, but if they're the roadblock for you right now, then take action and let that belief build over time. Number 3, your environment also can deeply impact your self-concept. As I said before, I couldn't see myself as someone who creates content for the longest time, not because I didn't want to be a content creator, but because no one around me in my life was doing it. So for context, all of my friends, people around me are either in big tech, they're software engineers, product managers, or in their finance. Like, that is kind of my world. And even if they are creating content, it's not going to be about spirituality and Neville Goddard. So I always had this very strong, lingering feeling of this isn't what I should be doing, even though it's what I wanted to do. So if you are struggling to feel congruent and safe in a new identity that you want to build for yourself, ask yourself, is there anything around me that is keeping me chained to this old self-concept? And what can I start surrounding myself with that reflects where I'm going? So when you see examples of people living the life you want, being successful in ways that you want to be successful, right? Because it can mean so many different things, then that's when your self-concepts can be allowed to expand. Because you're saying, oh wait, I can have that too, and I'm deserving of that too. And finally, how the fuck do you know when your self-concept has changed? You know your self-concept is changing when your triggers are no longer triggers. Pay attention to your triggers. So let's say someone makes a comment about your, I don't know, like your work ethic, right? If deep down you believe you're lazy, inconsistent, and someone questions your effort, it will trigger you. But when you know you're a disciplined person, a comment like that might annoy you, sure, but you're going to go back to baseline very quickly. Like, you won't be destabilized by any comment that anyone makes because you know your truth. If someone came up to me and said, you're 5'8", I also would not be triggered by that because I'm really short. I'm 5'3". Do you see what I mean? Like, pay attention to your triggers. And finally, and most importantly, you know your self-concept has changed when your nervous system feels safe having the thing. So let's say your new self-concept is, I am worthy of love, okay? If that belief is only cognitive, but your body hasn't caught up to it, your nervous system might still go into fight or flight when love comes. You can say all the affirmations you want, but if your nervous system still responds to the thing, whatever the thing is, as a threat, it's going to fight it or reject it because your nervous system is primed to keep you safe. A true shift in your self-concept means that your body no longer sees and feels what you desire as a threat. You're not in survival mode around receiving love. You don't feel the urge to earn it, to perform for it, to grip onto it. You feel regulated in your body in having it. It's kind of like your body saying, whew, this is normal and this is safe and I can handle it. That's the sign that you've really integrated that new self-concept, because a lot of the self-concept work that I've done is really somatic. It's not just mental work. It's a true new felt experience in your body. this feeling of emotional safety and emotional regulation. I had this beside me because I was watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about self-concept.